The question I have is for Dr. Vandry. In your presentation, you spoke about higher dosage that would be at the height of, and I mean, if you went beyond 10 milligrams, that would be the standard beyond which you might be able to prevent mischief. So we have percentages and we also have measurements in milligrams. And so I'd like you to clarify that for me. So I'd like to hear you a little bit more on the whole issue of harm and the 10 milligrams and beyond, please.
With respect to the difference between a percentage and a milligram dose, so percentage is just the concentration of drug in a matrix. And so when you're talking about dried plant material, you're talking about how much THC per volume is in that, per mass is in that plant. When you're eating a drug, the concentration isn't really as important as because you can control how much you eat. So when you're talking about drug effects, milligrams is the more important thing, and THC is the predominantly driving factor in intoxication and impairment in cannabis. So milligrams of THC is the most important thing to measure and to label and control. Now, there's arguments that other constituent components of the cannabis plant can mitigate some of those effects, but I think controlling THC dosage is very important. With respect to how much THC you have and what kind of effects it has, there's a lot of individual variability there. When we have done our research studies, we predominantly have tried to study individuals who infrequently use cannabis so that we're modeling the effects in a novice user, but individuals who use more frequently can develop tolerance to those effects and not have many adverse effects or as strong effects, very similar to alcohol or any other drugs. So I think it's important to craft your regulations to protect the infrequent novice user, but allow for more tolerant users to reasonably be able to get a functional dose, if that makes sense. But again, in our studies, a 10 milligram dose or less usually protects most people from having severe adverse effects. But if we jump up to a 25 milligram dose, we've had examples of people vomiting, having paranoia, anxiety provoking experience and otherwise negative consequences, and that gets even more frequent when we jumped up to 50 milligrams.
A little more time.
Can I add a supplementary? You spoke earlier about those who smoke regularly, who might build up some more tolerance to this. So have we seen this in the past? People that might use a great deal of marijuana not have the same reaction as another one? That I don't know, that seems like there's an enzyme missing in their metabolism or something. Have you already seen that, just for our information?
Cannabis and THC effects is very clearly been established. The more frequently you use the drug, the higher the tolerance and the higher the dose you can use to get a desired effect. And so this is just basic pharmacology. The more often you use a drug, there are neurobiological adaptations that occur in such that a higher dose has less an effect, and you have fewer side effects and adverse consequences. There's also just natural variability from one individual to the next. And there are genetic predispositions that can contribute to that variation. So both with respect to neurobiology of the cannabinoid receptor system, as well as with regards to drug metabolism. There are also sex differences where females tend to be a little more sensitive to cannabis effects than males in several research studies. So with regards to dosing, again, I think from a public health perspective, you want to be more conservative on the unit dose to protect unwanted consequences in individuals who might be trying it for the first time or might be more prone to adverse effects, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much.